I think when we called the other day, I talked about like the muse stuff, and
What is
that's
the
been an
muse?
ideology. Yeah, so the idea of the muse, and basically the way it works is, you have it's something embedded in your existence, and so, you usually hear all the layers of that explained, and like there's no set way. I think I don't know, every ideology, whatever you want to call it, every theory has its own, and they're all like, they have truth to a lot of them, but there's like the conscious self, the subconscious self. Usually people will say like the spirit, or a connection, something, a third source that connects to, I guess, your ego and also your subconscious. But that third thing in the muse ideology is the muse. And so it's similar to the way that people view uh, basically invoking deities and like letting them live through them, and in hopes that they can gain trust and understand that you're there on good terms and intentions to appreciate stuff like that. It's similar to that, but the thing is, you don't ask for it; you're born with it, and everyone has one, and everyone's different, and you don't actually always have a strong connection to it. Typically, it would work as I guess you could tie it to emotions, but the existence is much more different than like how we would experience it. But essentially, if you were to do certain things that that muse might like, um, you'll know. They'll kind of guide you, and a lot of people equate that to this like voice that guides them. A lot of artists will say the idea of what feels right, but naturally it's really just having a good connection with their muse. And if usually someone has a muse that prefers the arts or something like that, and they end up practicing, you'll start to notice that they build a stronger connection and sense of self. Like it helps the person a lot. For me, it helped me a lot with building a sense of self and like a relationship with myself, because I feel that I'm doing it for me, and also this other thing that lives with me. So it's almost like you're doing something for someone else, but in a way, it's for you. And at the end of the day, there's no bad to it. I think it can lead you to things that might feel bad, but it's intentional. And I also believe that people should suffer. So it's kind of like, depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a beautiful thing to me, because it's a way to find peace, and it can come in many forms, in the way of sometimes you remember memories from long before that might bring you peace that you've forgotten about. Sometimes it's important to like think about what sparked that reaction in your mind, or your feelings, how you feel. I think I think that shit's important, because usually it's like the muse, it's the muse, like, hey, this means something. And a lot of people, they get into very, very in good depth with communicating to the muse. They'll do the whole like having a notebook and pen set out next to your nightstand before you go to sleep.
Mm,
That way, as soon as you wake up, you sit there and you just write, and that's like the best time, because you're not really formulating opinions about your
judgment.
thoughts, because your thoughts aren't really, like, obviously your thoughts aren't you. Your thoughts are going to just flow, but you're not fully awake yet. So what you're clinging to isn't necessarily being driven by any moral compass or any belief or anything that you need to get done. And all of those thoughts that fly, obviously, maybe if you have errands that day, going to the store is going to pop up, and then you're going to choose to cling to that, and start the sequence. But when you're just waking up, if you just get up and start writing, you're before that turns on, you can start to understand yourself and where your brain is and stuff, and that type of thing can be helpful. But people really just do it so they can get to a close part of themselves. And yeah, that's like a general idea of it. But there's a lot of, there's like, I found three books.
Yeah.
I can't remember the new one, but I found three books that talk about it, and they're not necessarily all about it, but they've referenced it. And then I've also found a lot of interviews with artists who seem, they use the word muse, and the way that they're talking about their experience is very similar to that. And it has actually referenced, I can't remember what artist, but there was an artist in one of the books that they referenced, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like silly. It's a pop reference, but like at the same time, I mean, what they said was true. Like, if I don't, if my muse grants me some sort of idea or concept, and I don't hop on it, even if I'm laying in bed going to sleep, it will go to someone else.
That's crazy.
And
That's cool.
yeah.
That's a good thought. Yeah, because I was. Do you ever think that like muses try to like pull a sort of fulfill a sort of like happiness or memory that you had when you listen to somebody else's stuff or listen to something else, and then they try to get you to uh bring like a internal validation to what you made and like make yourself. Do you ever think like muses want you to feel happy? Like your muse makes you want you to feel happy about what you made. Like what do you think? What do you think they're trying to get out of you? You know.
I don't think it's necessarily that they're trying to get anything out of me. In my opinion, like I said, I can't speak as like the judge of this ideology. This is just from what I've learned and my opinion on it. I just need to state that. But
Yeah.
the way I see it, they didn't choose you, and they have to deal with life just like we do. So if in a way I feel that it makes me at peace to know that it enjoys whatever it is, and I think it's conditional. I think it depends on the terms and the context at hand. You know, like it's more so about what's going on in the situation and what triggered the memory. Maybe it wasn't even music. I can hug someone and have this memory pop in my head and feel at peace. I could be in some nature setting and remember something from my past. Like, you know, it comes out in many forms of life. I think like artists or anyone that, it could be artists of music, it could be dancers, it could be chefs, anyone. If they happen to be interested in or show interest in that, and usually from a young age, if they do show interest in that and do continue it, it is mostly because of, like I believe, it's mostly because of the muse having a strengthened interest to that thing. Um, and that's another thing. Like I think people waste their time sometimes ignoring their muse, and that's why they feel so negative about a lot of things and like kind of get wrapped up. I've seen I don't know. I like I said, I've been around music for like 11 years now, and I've seen a lot of people like really drastically change over many different reasons. And I think
What would
like
those reasons be?
sometimes it's like blowing up. Um, sometimes it's like, sorry, I gotta plug my phone in.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's like blowing up. Sometimes it's like mostly misunderstandings drawn from assumptions. Overtime, resentment building for opportunities, jealousy. I don't know. I've seen a lot of that type of stuff mostly. I've like I don't know, I've always kept my foot down with, because I've definitely been used um before, but you know I definitely keep my foot down when it comes to shit and long term.
There is some sharks, you know.